Here we are, 4 weeks into the NFL season. The Vikings are 4-0. They are tied for the best point differential in the NFL, and they have exactly the same start as the 1998 Vikings, 4-0 with a plus 57 point differential. So I ask you, John, are the Vikings the best team in the NFL this year or the best team in the NFL all time?
Yeah, I think I need one more week for all time.
I'll give you another week.
But we're close here. Yeah, I mean it's a runaway freight train right now. I mean if the second half wasn't quite as sloppy as it was in Green Bay, you'd be just like, maybe they are the best of all time, because we've seen the season start with one good win and three great wins, and it's pretty damn impressive.
No doubt about it. I was in Lambeau Field this weekend. Again, reminded, I've been covering games there since 1990. Something strange always happens at Lambeau. There's something about that place, something about this rivalry. And to go from Lambeau to facing Aaron Rodgers in London, it's so incredibly entertaining. This team has been a blast so far. Let's dive into all the ways they have been a blast and what's ahead, or at least what we think might be ahead here on the Viking Update Show. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We want to thank our other sponsors as well. Natrium, one of our newer sponsors, Crazy Fresh, TSR Injury Law, and Twill in the Edina Galleria. Let's just jump ahead right now. We're journalists. We don't cheer in the press box. We don't cheer for outcomes. We do enjoy good stories. I got to be honest. In this case, Aaron Rodgers, he's already whining. He's already realized he's with a bad coach, a bad offensive coordinator, and a team that it just isn't going to just take the NFL by storm. I just think it would be delicious if the Vikings went over there and just whacked him.
Yeah, it's just so funny, Jim, because you go probably early in the preseason, you're looking at how the schedule breaks out, and you're thinking, I was thinking of my co-worker Alec Lewis at The Athletic, thinking about Ben Gessling and everyone who was like, man, you're gonna have to schlep all the way over to London and cover a team that's probably gonna be 1-3 maybe, yep. and go into this game against Aaron Rodgers and do this, and that's a pain in the ass, but you get to go to London, great, but it's just a pain in the ass in the middle of a long season. Now it's like, oh my gosh, you got 4-0, you're going to London, and they're facing kind of a longtime nemesis, like a player that everyone in Viking land loves to hate, and that does seem to be in a little bit of turmoil right now and seems vulnerable, I think, a little bit. And so I do think that a lot of Vikings fans are sort of licking their chops right now and saying, man, if they can go over there, be in a featured game, on the NFL schedule, and just dominate one of the most easy to hate figures in Viking lore. I think that would be just a chef's kiss for Vikings fans in this unexpected start here.
Yeah, I don't want them to beat up Aaron Rodgers because I'm from Minnesota. I just don't like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you're not from here. We've established that. You're not
I just don't like Aaron Rodgers. He's a whiny, arrogant jerk, and he calls out his coach during a press conference after a tough loss. And here's the thing. His legs are killing him right now. He's not officially injured in some major way, but his legs are bothering him. 4 weeks into the season, and he's about to fly to London and then face the defense that leads the league in sacks, quarterback pressures, deflections, interceptions, turnovers. This could be something. And so we might be very close to the Vikings going into a bye week at 5-0, getting Hockenson back in the next month or so. I mean, listen, they're not going to go undefeated. They're going to lose some games. They're going to have a tough stretch. In fact, I'll offer that as the first big thing we get to here today. Darnold has played exceptionally well. To me, looking at what this team has done so far, I think the key point of this season will be when they do lose one or two in a row, when Darnold does have a bad game where he throws 3 picks, and maybe one of them's a pick 6 that costs him a game. The key to the season is going to be when he hits the bad stretch he always hits, can they pull him back?
Yeah, and I think that's why Jim, I think that's why this start to the season has been so important for him. If let's say he played really rough in the first game, and maybe even they still win, there's a lot of question marks about, okay, how good is this guy? Da 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 da. But given how strong he has been through these first 4 weeks, and if he continues going, the deeper that he goes, I think the more easily it will be explained away if he has 1 or 2 bad games. They're just 1 or 2 bad games. That this is not sort of the old Sam Darnold resurfacing. So the sample size that he is compiling right now, and the success and the synergy he seems to have with Kevin O'Connell, everything that is going well for the Vikings offense is very, very important, because this was a guy who came into the season with a lot of questions about his ability, about where he was going to be able to be. Can he handle this? And the more and more games and great performances that he stacks on top of each other, then when, I do think it's inevitable he'll have a game or two that don't go well. But if they're 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 or whatever, or even 9-1 or 8-2, something like that, you can say, that's all right. Move on, flush it, learn from it, and move on. And so I just think that they're in a really strong position that way already, because we have seen that he can have success in this offense, and we have seen that he is having it in a way that feels realistic and replicable. And so a bump in the road here or there can be a bump in the road, as long as it doesn't turn into 3 or 4 bumps in the road.
He's John Krasinski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune. This is one of our 2 football shows at talknorth.com. If you like a show, please subscribe to it at your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. Also, check out Jeff Diamond's Vikings and NFL Insider, my show with the former Vikings general manager. He's great on salary cap and behind-the-scene machinations. This show is brought to you by 2 people who've been covering the Vikings for decades. And let's get to the defense. They just had their first bad half of the season. And I know that Viking fans with scar tissues panicked because they almost gave away a game to the Packers. I don't know. I almost feel like it's more of a human nature thing than a football thing. You're up 28-0 on a rival at their place, and that's a really good team. They were in the NFC Championship game last year, and I thought Jordan Love was shaking off rust as he played on Sunday. And they're going to play with desperation at some point, and they made some plays on you. And honestly, probably what made that game a close game was Brandon Powell taking a shot, being off the field, and Jalen Naylor having to go out there as a punt returner and muffing a punt that leads to a touchdown. So I'm not as bothered by the Packers comeback as I think a lot of fans are.
Yeah, honestly, it felt like, watching an NBA game sometimes in some ways, Jim, because, you go up 28-0 and everything is going right for you. I think it is sort of understandable, or at least you can expect that the foot's coming off the gas just a little bit. And when the foot comes off the gas in football, man, it can be really hard to just kind of steady yourself and get back to what you were doing. It is such a game built on intensity and edge and physicality and competitiveness. And when you sort of just, relax a little bit, that opens the door. And I think that they probably will learn from that. They will take away something from that. But in some ways, the way they started was so overwhelming and impressive. You're like, holy cow, like this is a Super Bowl team right here. And maybe they started to feel themselves a little too much. And maybe the way that it ended will actually work out better for them going forward, because it's like a little bit of a heat check. Like, come on, guys, like you can't screw around like that. Like you're not that good. And so they escaped with it a little bit, but it still doesn't take away the lead that they built. But it just did feel like, okay, this is a team, and O'Connell is kind of prone to this every once in a while too, like a fancy play or something like that seems unnecessary. But overall, I think that this was an undefeated team that had come in and absolutely flattened, a division rival that was picked to be better than they were. And then they started puffing their chests a little bit, and they had to be brought back down to reality a little.
Yeah, I agree completely. Hey, we want to let you know that we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios, and I want to tell you about Natrium. It's Natrium and Wildflower Shops. Actually, there are 2 wildflowers right near me. there's probably a Natrium or a Wildflower near you. Go to natrium.com, Natreum, to find a location or just order delivery. I do recommend going to the actual store. They're beautiful. The workers, the employees are very knowledgeable, very laid back. They can tell you what works in what way. And you can get balms for pain relief, inflammation relief. You can get dips that work the same way. You can get gummies that are either for pleasure or for pain relief or for sleep. There are drinks, really good tasting sodas, things like that. There's oils that help your guts out. That's a big deal for me. I tend to use these things for sleep as sleep aids and for pain relief. You might like them more just for fun. Whatever you like, go to a Natrium or a Wildflower near you and talk to the staff. They can point you in the right direction. They can tell you what tastes good. It all tastes good, but they can help just guide you. This is kind of a new world for some of us. So go to natrium.com, check it out. Tell them Talk North sent you. Also want to tell you about Crazy Fresh, another product that I use all the time. I love the protein salads. I love the dips. I love the guacamole. I love the salsas. I love the fresh fruit, and it is incredibly fresh. I love the fresh veggies. I love the fact that instead of me going out to the grocery store and bringing back 8 pounds of produce that I know some of it's going to end up rotting in the back of my fridge because I'm not going to get to it in time, I'm ordering meal size or snack size portions delivered in a way that they're going to stay fresh for the maximum amount of time. And it's incredibly healthy, and there's not going to be any waste. I've yet to throw away a Crazy Fresh container that I didn't eat everything in there because it's just the perfect portion size. So check out Crazy Fresh. And also want to let you know that they did give away their golden ticket winner, and the winner of the golden ticket was at the Packers Vikings game on Sunday. So when you buy your Crazy Fresh stuff, look for your golden ticket. Maybe you'll get lucky as well. I also want to tell you about Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. We moved this summer. We tend to move a lot because we've tried different places out, living downtown Minneapolis. Last move, I got rid of a lot of clothes. We're moving to a place with a small closet. The stuff I kept was all the stuff I bought at Twill. Golf shirts, nice pants, jeans, belts, shoes, socks, underwear, pullovers, sweaters, layers. It's incredible how much of my stuff now is Twill. And I also find when I travel, and I travel a lot, I usually end up packing and wearing the stuff I got at Twill. It just wears better than your average old pair of blue jeans and flannel shirt. It wears better, doesn't bunch up. It's easier to clean. It wears like iron. So listen, go to Twill in the Edina Galleria. Tell Scott Dayton we sent you, and go to twillmn.com to check out all the different products they have and to sign up for the newsletter. They hardly ever send them out. They'll only send them out when they have a special event at the store. But go to the store. The store is absolutely beautiful. All right, let's get into the offense. They get Addison back, makes an immediate impact. Aaron Jones continues to look like he was born to play in this offense. Justin Jefferson continues to make catches that just don't seem human. And Naylor is a nice third receiver, and they're going to get Hockenson back. They've gotten mileage out of Josh Oliver, and the offensive line has played well. I mean, they really do look like a group that if Darnold doesn't start turning the ball over, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest takeaway, Jim, is that the offensive line has really given Darnold protection. Even against good defenses, he has had plenty of time in a clean pocket to get his throws off. And a guy as physically talented as Darnold is, if you do give him time, man, it just increases the chances of success for him and for this offense by a large margin. So, when you look at kind of things to be just really encouraged about, that I think that's probably number one on my list, because I felt really good about Jefferson coming into the year. I felt good about Addison. I felt good about Aaron Jones. Even, I had worries about his health, but the performer I did not worry about. And then you look at, guys like Naylor, getting Hockenson back, all that is great. But I really did have a question of, can this offensive line continue to improve and get to a point where it looks a little bit more like a strength and not a weakness or a net neutral? And right now it's been a strength. And I think that's really promising going forward for this group, and another sign of like, yes, this can be sustainable if you have those guys up front playing the way that they are playing.
It's an obvious angle, but when you dive into it deeply, what's really amazing about this team, and I wrote about it in the Sunday paper, is just how many veteran free agents they brought in this year, but even a couple last year, who just immediately adapted and are making a major impact this year. And we're not talking about household names, whether it's Tillery or Bullard. I mean, Blake Cashman, we knew he's a good player. We didn't know he was going to play this well in this system immediately. Van Ginkel, Grenard. It's stunning how many players they brought in who immediately have played well. And I think that's a great sign it tells you a lot. It tells you that their pro scouts are really good. It tells you that this coaching staff can adapt quickly, and it tells you that the players like playing these schemes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the best of all worlds, and really, like, if you want to like take the big picture view of this, it is setting up the Vikings as a place where you can come and improve your lot in life. And for years, it's whether it was Patriots or the Chiefs or other teams, the Eagles, I think, are in this boat, and several others. It's like, hey, if you go to this organization, they're going to take care of you and they're going to put you in places to succeed. So you come away either with a bigger contract to stay or to go out elsewhere. And we've seen kind of the way that this organization has performed on the union surveys, where great place to come to work, facilities, leadership, approach, all of that. That's all great. But then if you add on top of that you get guys who haven't necessarily been stars in other places and yet come here and really play well, that's going to really permeate the rest of the league. And so now it becomes, hey, Minnesota is a place you can go to really kind of help your career take the next step. And that's a great reputation to have. And it's a testament to the coaching. It's also a testament to the talent, the eye for talent for Kwesi and his staff. And they have really done now in the last, I would say, year and a half to 2 years, they've really done a good job of bouncing back from some earlier misses and grabbing these pieces that are just clicking perfectly. Tillery is a great example. Like, I didn't know who Jerry Tillery was, and now he's here and he's making an impact. Like, that kind of stuff is really strong for an organization's overall perception, and the Vikings are in a great spot that way.
No doubt about it. Hey, we want to let you know, on a more personal note, John, tell us about True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute is in Bloomington. I was out watching my daughter play soccer this weekend, and you all know that it was really hot here, and that sun was really bright. And one of the cool things about having LASIK surgery now and not having glasses anymore is I can wear regular sunglasses. Like I could just buy like the regular pairs. I don't have to have prescription, and I just threw a pair on, and that was it. I didn't have to throw my other glasses in a case and carry them in my shorts pockets or leave it in the car. I just threw a pair of sunglasses on, and that was it. Life without glasses and contacts is so much easier. And if you go to truevision.com, you can set up a consultation. The people there are the most friendly, the most welcoming, most knowledgeable staff I've ever met with from an eye doctor standpoint. And Dr. Chu was fantastic in getting me through the entire procedure. I wish I would have done it 10 years ago. It has really just changed my life in such a great way and made things so much easier. So go to truevision.com, set up your consultation, tell them John Krasinski sent you, and do what I did, and then get on with regretting that you didn't do this 10 years before.
So the league is really interesting right now. We thought that the 49ers might be the best team. Well, they were in the Super Bowl last year. It's not much of a jump to say they're a very good team and had a chance to go back to the Super Bowl. They're having all kinds of injury problems, and Ayuk is not happy. McCaffrey might not even play this season. They look vulnerable. They still have talent, but they look vulnerable. The Lions look very good offensively. We're not sure about their defense. The Packers, we think they're good, but they still have a lot to prove. The Seahawks look good, not great. Nobody in the East looks great unless James McDaniels is the next Lamar Jackson, which he might be. We're not sure if anybody in the East is all that good. Man, it just seems like this might be the right year to have a good team.
Yeah, it is like, I mean, the door is wide open. We've talked about this before, that, my perception is that the way that in this era of the NFL, there are no more great teams. There are no, Brady Moss Patriots. There are no, 70s Steelers, 80s Niners. Like that's not there anymore. But I think that's even more so the case in the NFC right now. There is no one else out there that you look at and you say, well, that the Vikings don't have a chance against those guys. Can they lose to some of the top teams in the NFC? Absolutely. Like the Vikings have their own flaws, but so far in what we have seen in this first month of the season is the Vikings look the most complete team out there right now. Offense, defense, kicking, all of it. They seem to have all of it covered. And so that leads me to believe that right now, as crazy as it sounds, I think that they're the favorites in the NFC. I do like Detroit a lot. I still think that they're going to be really good. But I don't trust Philadelphia, certainly Dallas. No. The Falcons, the Saints, there's just the Niners are really banged up. Like the Seahawks, there's just, you look at all of it, everyone has questions, and the Vikings have the fewest questions right now, I think, of any team in the NFC. And so it's right there for them if they can just keep this up.
Yes. I hate talking about kickers because I don't think kickers should exist, but they do, and they make a difference. And, it's remarkable how good Reichert is, how unbothered, unperturbed he seems. I mean, we haven't seen him miss any kicks, so who knows what he's going to act like if he has a bad game. But he doesn't look like the kind of guy who lets anything get to him. And he kicked at high-pressure situations at Alabama, and he was great. Steps in the NFL, has a good preseason. Now he's made every kick so far 4 weeks into the season. He hasn't faced a game-winning, 52-yarder where that'll stress your nerves a little bit. But it's kind of amazing we've gotten this far into the season without anybody complaining about the kicker.
I mean, knock on wood, everyone's yelling at you right now, don't jinx that. Like all that stuff. We thought this way about Blair Walsh at one time too, right? And he got off to stronger. But I will say, yes, I like his makeup, but I like his path here. I think being a kicker at Alabama is a great preparation for this, because at Alabama, if you lose one game, your season is over. Once. There is no margin for error. The expectations are so heightened. There's so much pressure that living in that incubator and just cooking the way that it is, it can be great for some people. It can be terrible for other people. And so I like that he was in an environment where winning was the only option, and precision was the rule of the word of the day every single day. And so I do think that he has that. And he also does have, kind of like you hinted at, I think he has a good makeup in terms of it doesn't seem to rattle him. It doesn't seem to be too big for him. He seems to be taking everything in stride. And so I feel really good about where they're at with him. And, I think that they do a good job, special teams coaching wise. O'Connell is, not, going to be MFing the kicker like a Mike Zimmer does, or like Tice did back in the day. And so I think it's a good environment for him now here. And yeah, I don't have the same sort of looking out the side of my eye when he comes out to kick that so many other Vikings kickers have had. It's is this going to work? Anything can happen with when he comes out there and he kicks. I think he's going to make it.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And they're punting the ball. Other than Naylor making a mistake, thrown in a situation, the special teams have been very good as well. It just feels like a very well run organization and a very well coached team. And we're not always comfortable saying those things, even when the Vikings are having good times.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting here, Jim. How much further does this have to go before Vikings fans really get nervous? It's coming. That psychosis is going to set in. It's oh boy, what's going to happen to screw this all up? And That's part of the Minnesota experience. That's just until some team breaks through and does it. That's just going to be the way that it is. And I've sensed a little bit of it so far, but I haven't sensed the full on panic of, oh no, we're really good. This is going to hurt when we lose. Like I have not. And so I think it's coming. I think we're not that far away, but it is lingering out there kind of just over the horizon that, all of the PTSD of Viking fandom is going to start bubbling up to the surface, because I hate to tell you guys, this team is really, really good, and they can go as far as any other team in the NFC.
It's almost like unexpected success is better for this fan base than the team that's supposed to be good, because when the team's supposed to be good, the victories they almost feel like they're building up to a future collapse. I think this team should be easier to just enjoy week by week, because they weren't honestly, they were not supposed to be this good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that having the unexpected success, and then if something falls apart, yes, then they can more so explain it away, like, oh,
Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Sam Darnold. What did you expect? Like we were picked fourth in the division. Like this is all good. It's a little easier to explain away, but like when you come in with real expectations, with everyone looking at you and saying, yeah, you can and should win the division and go deeper in the playoffs, and then it doesn't work, then it's embarrassing. And I think that Minnesota sports fans hate to be embarrassed. And so if you give them the choice of a collapse when you are the favorite, or a collapse when you are unexpectedly good and then it falls apart, they will take the second one every time. But they're bracing for either of them. Like they know that they don't know, they're feeling that it's coming, and we'll see if this is finally the team that can break that curse or not.
You look at the schedule, I think they'll beat the Jets, then they get a bye. Then you start getting to the point where maybe Hawkinson's close to coming back. Although personally, I don't expect him back to November 3rd. I don't know that he's going to have enough practice time before October 20th to be ready. I don't know that you want him on a short week flying to Los Angeles. And then, if you get past Los Angeles, then you get 10 days to prepare for the Colts at home. That seems like a logical place for him to play. Maybe they'll rush it. Who knows? But okay, home against Detroit, toss-up game. At the Rams are beat to heck. I don't know if they'll be functional by then. Home against an Indianapolis team that's pretty good, but not great. At Jacksonville, which is struggling. At Tennessee, which is no good. At Chicago, which I don't think is very good. Home against Arizona. They can be a tough team to play against, but I think the Vikings are better than they are. Home against Atlanta. Who knows about that one? Home against Chicago. I think they win that one. At Seattle. That's a tough game. Home against Green Bay. Who knows? And at Detroit. So listen, I think the last 3 weeks of the season could be difficult. At Seattle, home against Green Bay, at Detroit. Until you get there, listen, they're not going to win all these games, but I think they could get 14 games in the season with a very good record.
For sure, yeah, and it's funny because I want to say that this is right. At the start of the season, I think that when the odds came out and stuff, like I think the Vikings were not favored in almost every game.
Right.
Of the schedule before any of this played out. And now you go the way that is shaped up now, I'm sure they'll be favored against the Jets, favored against the Lions, maybe favored against the Rams, Colts, Jaguars, Titans, yep, Bears, Cardinals, Falcons, Bears, yep. And then so I think they'll be favored in almost all of those leading into the final three. So I mean they're all very winnable. I look at that Rams game, Jim, like those Thursday night games are such slop. Like who knows? Like maybe they could win and the Rams could be beat up and it could be fine, but you go into those games and it's always a bad game and you look at it and it's like, God, everyone's playing terribly. Like what's going on here? And it's just because of that. It's Thursday. So that's a game that I'm watching. I am certainly watching the Lions game at home on the 20th. But other than those two, man, I feel really good about all of them leading into December 22nd at Seattle. So, yes, it could by that time. I mean, it could really be 12-2, 13-1, like that. That's feasible. That's on the table, which is wild to say.
Yeah, if I had to pick right now, and I admit that I'm not good at picking. I don't think anybody's actually good consistently at picking games, so I don't take this seriously. But I could see them being 11-3 or 12-2 going to those final 3 games, and knowing they're in the playoffs and just jockeying for seeding.
Yep, absolutely. And shoot, when the season started, I mean, you'd say, I'll take that 1,000 times out of 1,000 when you're looking at all of the possible scenarios. That would not have been one of them. And yet here we are.
No. Hey, check out the John Krasinski show. It's always good. This week's special edition where he talks about his relationship with Karl Anthony Towns and the surprise visit his family got from Karl Anthony Towns. Check out all the shows we've got. We've added Randy Shaver's high school football show. We have Mike Grimm on the Gophers, Don Mitchell doing a great show. Our guest this week is Chris Hockey. You got Russo and LaPanta and Gorg and the Bar Down Beauties on hockey. You have Lavelle, Roy Smalley, and myself on baseball. Jeff Diamond on football. Check it all out at talknorth.com. Again, if you like the show, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app, and we do appreciate it. So for John, I'm Jim Suhan. We'll talk to you next week after we see what the Vikings do to Aaron Rodgers in London.